And I'm Kyle, and this week we have a very talented actress with us, the very, very beautiful Lauren Ashley Carter.
Hi, everybody.
She has been in The Woman, and I don't know if she knows this, but Stacey and I are completely obsessed with The Woman.
Yes, yes, I know. I'm also obsessed. So
It's such a good movie, and everyone in that movie did such an amazing job. And we talked to Andrew for our last episode, and he's the nicest guy. He's really nice, and so we figured we're going to get the whole cast of The Woman on here eventually.
oh, that's cool. That's awesome. Yeah, I heard the little snippet that you put online or on the Facebook page.
My mom likes his voice.
Was that your mom?
Yeah, that's
It's
the first thing she said. The first thing, I love his voice. I'm like, okay, that's kind of creepy.
I
Um,
didn't know that was your mom. That's awesome.
yeah, so she supports what I do. So how did you get into the movie business?
well, I guess I moved from Cincinnati, Ohio, to New York. That's where I went to college. But I'm from a small town in Ohio called Massillon. Go Tigers! And yeah, I came here. Our conservatory had a showcase, like many conservatories do. And from that, I found my agency, and I just started. I moved here right away and started auditioning for things. And the first thing I met Andrew was through auditioning for a film called Rising Stars, which we filmed in Texas, which is like a family film.
Oh, we've seen
And
it.
Yes.
Yeah, we watched everything.
I had it was so funny because I worked I worked at a family video store when I was in college, and I worked there so much. I was like, and I was also going to a conservatory where you're constantly either in school or performing or doing something. So I eventually lost my mind and just never went back. I just
Right.
didn't show up and just didn't go. And and then instead of just quitting and just letting that be that, I called and made up this insane story about like having a nervous breakdown and going to a hospital, which never happened. I just lied about this ridiculous thing, and when it was really, I just didn't want to work anymore. So anyway, long story longer, I leave and I did the movie Rising Stars, and I came back to New York, and I get this Facebook message from this girl that worked at Family Video, who was still working at Family Video. And she says, "So I'm processing movies the other day, and we see your face on the cover of the title, Rising Stars, and we were all talking about you." And I said, "Oh, I don't know how to take that, but yeah." So that's a good Rising Stars story.
So that was kind of your big break then. That was when you met Andrew and his awesome haircut in the movie, and I brought that up with the show. I couldn't help it. I was like, "Who did your hair, man?"
He wanted his mohawk or faux hawk, or I think it was, what happened was he got in the chair, and Liz, who was our awesome, amazing makeup artist and hairstylist, she just said, "You have great hair and we're just gonna let it go." And he kept putting it up, and putting it up, and so finally that became his signature look.
I like it.
Yeah, so that's how. Before that, I did a film that I was overseas for a while called The Prodigies. It was this motion capture animated movie
Yep. It was
that
good.
we worked on for a while. But that was the only experience I had had other than student films before Rising Stars. And then yeah, and so basically Andrew, one day he just overheard me. I was talking about horror movies, and I love them. I grew up watching them among many others, but that was, my father. I would see my father on the weekends, and since I was 5 years old, he let me rent horror movies from the video store along with my Rocky and Bullwinkle,
Yes.
and like every normal 5-year-old girl. And so anyway, I was talking about this, and Andrew sits, overhears me, and he goes, "Oh my gosh," he goes, "this is perfect. When I saw you, all I could think about was how I wanted to introduce you to my friend Lucky." And we just start talking about horror movies, and then all of a sudden I realize he's talking about Lucky McKee. And I
Yeah.
said, "Oh, that is your friend." And and then anyway, so we started talking about May, because May is just one of my absolute favorite movies. So I was just floored by that. And and he talked about, oh, next year we want to make this movie. But me, I'm thinking, oh yeah, sure, that's awesome. You hear this stuff all the time. Someone will talk to you about a project, and then you never hear about it again. So, but yeah, sure enough, I ended up getting a phone call from Andrew, and Lucky was in town, and Lucky and I had a million conversations over the phone and an email. And so we finally met up, and we were talking for hours and hours and hours. And throughout this weekend, he decided that he was going to definitely put me in the film as Peggy. And everything went pretty fast after that.
The character Peg was like, I don't know, the focal point of the movie for me. It was like so much emotion in that character. You did an amazing job, and I don't know. I told Andrew it's your eyes. You really bring out like that emotion, like in the one scene with the song "Distracted" was playing, and you were on the football field, and it was like the camera kind of followed you as you kind of fell to the grass. I was like, oh my God, I feel like I'm gonna cry too.
That was the hope. That was the wish. We wanted everyone weeping and have soggy britches and all that.
If you can get soggy britches in a horror movie, then you have succeeded.
Exactly.
That was we talked about that shot for a long time, and he sent me the song. That was the one song that he knew that was going to be, at that certain point. Before that, Sean Spillane was writing all of these songs as we were making the film for the parts. But that was one that had already been written for the film. So I listened to it a lot. But, and you can read and you can talk about how the shot's going to be, but it was really intense when we did it, because the camera, he had the camera and was falling with me. And there were just all these people in my face, during that shot, which is this very, very emotional, very personal thing. And when we were doing it, I just thought, oh my, this is so intrusive right now. And we kept, there was supposed to basically be a couple tears, falling, which you see in the beginning of that shot when I do go down. And then all of a sudden, Lucky says, all right, I just want you to lose it now, while we were filming. And I just thought, oh, I was not ready for this. That's and to set up that shot took, the crew is amazing. Andrew always gets the best crews ever. I love these guys and girls. They're amazing. And I just thought to reset for this shot is just gonna, and we're outside, the light there was insane how it would go, in and out. There were clouds. It was beautiful, but very tricky. And so finally, I just started thinking about all this, and my anxiety was just swarming, and I just started melting down and crying. So it really worked for nothing else.
It worked for all of us. We were crying with you.
I'm so glad. I love making people sad.
Why?
Oh, well, if you can't make them happy, I don't know.
That's true.
Make them depressed.
I just want to affect you.
So, going back to Rising Stars, I had a question about that movie.
Yes.
In that movie, you were from Zanesville, Ohio.
Right.
And I had to bring that up because I had the question, is if you've ever been to Zanesville.
I've driven past it, but I've never been to Zanesville. I think probably some football game has had to do with people from there, but I'm not sure. It seems like one of those places where it's like bring your tractor to school day.
It's very bad.
I'm in that town right now.
Wait, are you serious?
No, I don't live in Zanesville, but I live in a town just like that.
Oh yeah, bring your tractor to school.
It's awful.
Oh, no.
Horror fans don't fit in here.
I've never been there. There's a couple places in Ohio that you just don't go, either for reasons that, it's a tornado town, like Xenia, Ohio.
Like Gummo?
Yes, exactly.
Is that a Gummo reference? Yeah.
Such a good movie.
Places you don't go. And yeah, there's this town Xenia, and if tornadoes touch down in Ohio, they always touch down in Xenia. And people live there. I can't understand.
I think that movie had an effect on it. As soon as that movie came out, they're like, all right, all tornadoes go to Xenia, because that movie.
Give up. Let's just give up.
Well, you spoke about Lucky McGee before. What was it like working with him? I know he's very talented, and like you said, May. We talked about May on I think the second episode we did of the show. We love Angela, and we love the movie May, and we love Lucky. What was it like working with Lucky?
It was great. Lucky's, I think, well, like all of us really in the crew, but he's very intense, and it doesn't help that he's, like 6 feet taller than I am. But he's also, when it made me laugh so hard. I'm sure you guys all saw the video, the YouTube video of the guy at Sundance that
Right.
Yeah.
And when he started saying, how like he was a misogynist and it was obscene and all these horrible things, it was horrible, and he was so hurt by it because he's such a sensitive and loving person. But if you knew Lucky at all, you knew that he's the biggest cheerleader for women in general. And he's very caring about everyone in his films, but especially the women he takes, he's very sensitive to everyone's needs. And he won't stop until he gets something the way that he wants it, which, is very much how I am as well. And, there was a time when we went through the entire alphabet and back again for takes on a, on a shot.
Oh, wow.
And or a setup, and yeah, it was pretty miraculous. Halfway through it, you're like, are you kidding me? And then when you finally get it done, everybody's laughing again, and you're like, yeah, this is what we're doing. But no, he was incredible. And and it's also one of these things when it's happening, and there were a lot of people involved in The Woman. There's so many setups where the whole family is involved, and everybody was so, he was a great leader in keeping everyone together and then focused the whole time. He's there with you in the shit when you're in it, and I don't think that you can say that about a lot of directors or people.
The funny thing is, you say that Lucky's a sensitive guy. I think every diehard horror fan, no matter what horror, like what genre of horror you are, whether it's the goriest and the with the torture and all that kind of stuff, at heart we all cry when we watch Old Yeller. We all, it's like we all have our guilty pleasures, and we're all sensitive people. I think everyone is.
Absolutely, yeah. He and his father. They also cried during we call it poor little pig. Poor little pig. Yeah, my nickname during filming was Prego Waffle.
Nice.
Beautiful.
Prego.
I got the Prego part. What was the waffle?
Oh, well, Eggo waffles.
Oh, gotcha.
It was I don't know. It's
right over my head.
Yeah, it's not the most clever thing I've ever said, but it was cute at the time.
You also mentioned Andrew Vanden Houten.
Yeah.
You've worked with him 3 different times. As far as I know, there could be more.
Yeah, these the last film we just shot, Jugface.
Yes. Is he someone you want to continue to work with?
Oh, absolutely. He like I said, Andrew just gets the best crews together to work for these, and most of the people that are my best friends now are crew members and actors from the films. Michael David Bevins, who did costumes for Rising Stars, The Woman, and for Jugface. He's just a dear friend of mine. And I just saw him 2 days ago, actually. And, and every time it's, once Andrew hires people, we all just start calling each other and talking. And it's a really exciting group to be around and inspiring. And Chris Heinrich, who pulled focus for The Woman and was the DP for Jugface, just moved back to New York, and he's been friends with Andrew for a few years now. And everybody just cares very much about each other, and we're all very intense people. So, so it works.
Well, what drew you to The Woman? Did you read the book before? Was it just the script that you got and you just fell in love with it?
I did. I did read the book, but it was the script that really got me, and it was it was funny because, and just talking with Lucky, and he had been talking also to Pollyanna during the entire, before we started shooting as well. And just hearing, what they were saying to each other, and then I also got to talk to Angie a little bit over email before we started shooting. And it was something that, that I've always wanted to play, especially watching horror movies, being, a young person, and, probably Jamie Lee Curtis was my favorite horror heroine for years.
Yes.
And, and just, I perpetually, I just love being scared. It's something that draws me more than anything. And I just loved the stillness of it all, and the shock of things that are not said, and in those quiet moments, it was absolutely something that I wanted to do. And I was saddened that I didn't get to be part of the gore at the end.
No, it's good. It's good. We were rooting for you.
Yeah, we want you to be in the next one. That's
exactly.
Exactly. I know. That's what I said. In the next one, I get to get bloody. But yeah. So I mean, Angie's character was one of my favorites as well, and I just couldn't wait to be with her during the filming and to watch her. And but it was actually even, it's even better when you get there, which it always is, because you can't imagine. But the scenes with Polly, I mean, when we saw her and we got in there with her, I just said, holy shit, this chick is for real. And she, I mean, until, for the first couple weeks, I was actually genuinely terrified of her. And Sean Bridgers was just such a surprise, because when you read the script, like, the character of Chris Cleek on paper is one thing, and you put whatever you have in your mind of things that you've seen and experienced and how it's going to play out. But when we got there and watching him, it was just, he was completely different than what I had imagined, in the best possible way. And
he was the most hated thing in that movie.
Yes, he was.
I know.
But he played it off so well, though.
I know, when I saw it, I didn't see it. I did not see the film until it screened at Sundance. And I was just terrified. And when I watched, I was just cracking up at him. Because when you're in the scene and you're in the moment and everything, and, you have all these things to focus on, unfortunately, you can't really enjoy someone's performance all the time, because you have to think about your own. But when I saw it, I just enjoyed the crap out of him. He's terrific. It was just one of my favorite villains ever.
We brought that up with Andrew, and he told us that we would actually, our opinions would change on him when we see Jugface. Apparently, it's like a 360.
Yes.
It's a build up, and I'm like, we told him we can't really see that yet, because we've only really seen him as that dark, evil father, and it was just, he pulled it off so well. I mean, he had everyone hating him.
Oh yeah, it's true though. Yeah, when you see Jugface, it's a whirlwind, and he was so helpful. Absolutely. He's just really, whenever I don't know if you've spoken with him, but you will, and he's just the most down to earth, Southern boy. Larry Fessenden and I just would crack up, him smoking his pipe, and scratching his beard and talking about the Civil War. But he's incredible. He would sit with me before, every day, and we would go through the script together, and any questions that I had, and and Chad Kinkle, who wrote and directed Jugface as well, was incredible. Just you never know, even if you talk to a director before you shoot, until you start working with them. And I was very pleased with the entire experience. But Sean Bridgers is phenomenal, and Pollyanna as well. Pollyanna and I, she's like, when you talk to her, she's just so nurturing and kind, and just very earth mother, and just smiling, like the most gorgeous smile you've ever seen. And then you just see her with all this black crap in her teeth and gunk under her fingernails, eating people's fingers.
He deserved it, though.
Going back to Jugface, since we brought it up, and another Sean Young is your mother in Jugface?
Yes.
How was that working with Sean?
That was awesome. The story of Sean Young goes back to Rising Stars when Andrew talked about her, and I said, you said something about, oh yeah, I have to call Sean Young. I said, you do not have Sean Young's phone number. He says, I did a movie with her. Of course I do. I said, but you guys aren't friends. He goes, yes, we are. He goes, I swear we are. He goes, I'll call her right now. I said, yeah, okay, go ahead. Go call Sean Young right now. I can't wait. And, we get her voicemail, and I'm just flipping out because I heard her voicemail. Like, I was probably jumping up and down for the next 6 hours. Because Blade Runner was another one, I would watch that with my father over and over again, and we loved Sean Young. I mean, I would even watch Dr. Jekyll and Ms. Hyde when I was
Yes.
any possible thing, but Fatal Instinct was a favorite of mine. I would rent at the video store, which was the parody movie about Basic Instinct and Fatal Attraction,
Right.
that she was in, and I just adored her in that movie. And Cheryl Lynn, who Twin Peaks Cheryl Lynn, who was in that, who was gorgeous.
Yes.
I think. So anyway, then later, Sean called me a few times, just saying, and because Andrew just kept saying, we got to get you to play Lauren's mom. We have to get you to play Lauren's mom. And it became this joke, that, oh yeah, Sean Young's going to be my mom someday. And so she'd call me and say, hey, daughter. And I'd say, hi, mom. And this went on since Rising Stars. And then so Andrew sent me the script for Jugface. And Andrew sends me scripts, would send me scripts just for my opinion, not to be in them, but just,
Right.
hey, think about this. And so he had sent me this, and I read it, and I said, this is really very good. I like it a lot. And he goes, well, I'm thinking about you for Ada. And I said, oh, that would be phenomenal. And he goes, and we're thinking, he goes, I'm not sure, but we talked to Sean Young about playing your mother. And I was just head over heels about the idea. And so when she finally decided to, I can't tell you how many text messages and emails I got from my father, ask her this.
Oh, I'm sure.
and you're like, yeah, absolutely never, ever will I do that, Dad. But she was amazing from day one. She knows what she's doing, and she looks so great on camera. It's just one of those things.
She's a natural beauty.
Yeah, you just know, you're like, oh, this is why she is who she is. She's amazing. And, yeah, she had the most interesting things too. She would just, I don't know. I can't imagine that she, sat in her room and thought about these before the day. But she would come in and we'd do something, and she goes, let me try this, or what if you try the shot over here? And but she really did the best work, and she was really helpful, and she's very much a mother. The whole time she's always worried about people. I mean, I don't know if you heard about the tick situation we had.
No.
Oh yeah, it was basically raining ticks in Tennessee when we
Oh.
went. It was a bad season, and we were really out in the sticks. And everybody was picking ticks off of each other every day and doing head checks and back checks and all kinds of fun things. So we got really close really quickly. And Sean was just, she was right there in it with us. We were all, going to the bathroom in the woods sometimes, and late nights just stinking to high heaven. And she never once complained. She never once got pissy, she was just, no special requests. She had everything we had. And I'd be thrilled to work with her again. She actually moved to the East Coast recently, and she's been so kind as to invite me to see films with her. And
that's amazing.
Yeah, and she has worked, Michael David Bevins and her became really great friends too, and they got to work together recently on a film, which I'm so excited to see. She plays a therapist, which is going to be and but yeah, I can't wait to work with her again. She was fantastic.
I think the funny thing about her is I remember as I got to the age where I can kind of tell who an actress was, and I can, I start to follow them more.
Right.
You develop to where you're like, oh, I need to know what else this person's been in. I went back as a teenager and watched Ace Ventura, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh my
Yeah.
God, that's her.
Yeah. Yeah. Lights is out.
Yeah, it's weird when that happens when you just don't remember people that you
Right.
up with as an adult. It's so funny. I was like, I cannot believe she was Einhorn. So, who were your influences getting into the whole movie business? Did you have celebrities that you looked up to when you were younger?
Oh yeah, it was, and it would always change, just like a crush on, a celebrity that you liked. It was the same kind of thing with performances for me, and it would evolve. And but the first person who, which is so cliche, but the first person that I loved when I was very young was Marilyn Monroe. And I was very young. I was probably about 4 or so, and I found a button with her face on it, and I just thought she was so beautiful, and I didn't know who she was. And so my mother, went to the library with me, and I rented all her movies from the library, and I just was just captivated by her. And then I told my grandmother, who loves, still mostly watches black and white films, and in tapes with a VHS tape from Turner Classic Movies. She's got like cases of VHS tapes from taping
Yes.
movies because she can't possibly go and buy them. Anyway, so I told her about Marilyn Monroe, and she goes, "Oh, I can't believe you like her. No, she just couldn't have it." So she was not a fan of Marilyn. So she showed me Audrey Hepburn and then Claudette Colbert and Carole Lombard, and then eventually, I felt Betty Davis was probably when I got really crazy. And I remember she had told me I was a very awkward looking kid, and big glasses and braces and stringy hair. And she told me, "You have to watch this movie, Lauren. It's called Now Voyager, and you remind me of Betty Davis so much." So I watched the movie, and I was so flattered, when she turns into this gorgeous woman, and it's like this fairy tale, and I was so inspired. And I went to my grandmother and I said, I watched the movie. She says, "Oh my gosh, don't you think you look just like her?" I said, "Oh, thank you, Grandma." She goes, "At the beginning." And I was crushed a little bit. But so Betty Davis was a big one for me. And then one of my favorite performances, Ellen Burstyn is so incredible.
Yes, she's one of my favorites as well. So thank
uh,
you for saying that.
yes, I have this, and I met a couple other actresses like that. I'm like, I can't wait until I'm 60. I'm gonna be awesome. I mean, but of course, young Ellen Burstyn is amazing. Meryl Streep is phenomenal. I've probably watched Death Becomes Her about 3,000 times, and that's one of my favorite Streep roles, just because of her vocal performance is incredible. I just love the things she does with her voice. That she's hilarious. She's a great comedic actress as well. And Gina Rowlands, Holly Hunter was probably one of my favorites as well, especially in high school. I loved Holly Hunter, and Madeline Kahn.
Oh.
Madeline.
She's probably also one. But yeah, Carole Lombard was a big one for me as well.
What drew you to Holly Hunter?
I had a few people give me references. I had done this show, and I had this Southern accent and everything, and then I started watching films of hers, and there's just, it's like this quality that you see in, younger actresses, or like, Ellen Page or something, just where they can they can get away with just being themselves and being so unique and wonderful to watch. And not that that's anything that I aspire to do, or that I think that I'm equally interesting, because actually I'm not. But I just love watching her. She's one of those people. And there's a couple actresses like that where and now because I'm going to say this, I can't say who they are, But there's some actors that I think aren't the most talented, but I just love watching them. And it doesn't matter. They could just be saying poop, poop, paper bag or something. And
That's already interesting to me. Like that
Yeah,
has my
exactly.
attention. I'm like a cat. It doesn't take much to entertain me.
Exactly.
But it's funny because I was most impressed by men. It's such a horrible thing to say as a woman. But there were so many men that I mostly watched, Jack Nicholson in The Shining.
Oh.
I would watch that on repeat, and I would pause the movie and like do something back that he had done. I would try and memorize the way that he did it. And Al Pacino was also another one. I mean, Panic in Needle Park is one of the most depressing movies in the world, but I just couldn't stop watching him. The Godfather, well, the first two Godfather movies, and Michael Keaton as well. Batman and Beetlejuice were.
When I was younger, like I said, when you get older, you realize who people are, and I cannot believe that Batman was Beetlejuice. It blew my mind.
No, exactly. Well, and also Bruce Willis in Death Becomes Her.
Right.
Because I watched that when I was younger, and later on when I hadn't watched it in years, and I realized, that threw me. I still think that's one of his best performances ever.
Yeah, he's kind of gone downhill and just done, cookie cutter movies lately.
Oh yeah. Oh, and I was gonna say another one of my most favorite performances is Reese Witherspoon in Freeway with Kiefer Sutherland.
Right.
I love, and because the first thing I had ever seen her in was Cruel Intentions, and whatever that movie was when she was in the desert, the Disney movie, I can't remember. But I couldn't stand her in Cruel Intentions. But I think it was just that movie that I really couldn't stand. Because I grew up. My mother's favorite movie was Dangerous Liaisons, so I saw that early on with John Malkovich, who's another actor crush I have. And then when I saw Cruel Intentions, I thought, oh, this is rubbish. But then when I saw her in Freeway, I couldn't believe that was the same person. I thought that was just. And Amanda Plummer, speaking of Freeway, she's phenomenal.
I don't know if I've ever seen Freeway.
I don't think I have either.
Oh, you guys. Oh, you must. Okay, you watch Freeway together, and then you should have a show just about Freeway.
We'll all get together and we'll watch
All
Freeway.
Right. We'll call you. We'll call
Also,
you and say, hey.
Brittany Murphy plays like a psychotic lesbian in the film as well, so you should see it just for that.
Okay.
Hey, all right.
Got my
Kyle's
attention.
down. He's like, yeah, all right.
All right,
I'm
psychotic
like, all right.
lesbians, you got me.
It's basically a demented Little Red Riding Hood.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Yeah, so you'll like
With
it.
psychotic lesbians.
Yes.
Dig it. All right, Sage, you want to get the next one?
Sorry, I was looking into that movie.
Yeah, I know, I was too.
The one thing I wanted to bring up as well, because I'm a huge Law and Order SVU nerd.
Who is it?
I know,
Yeah.
but all of a sudden I was watching it and I was like, you've got to be shitting me. And your face pops up for a To Catch a Predator-esque
Yes.
type show, and then out of the blue comes Deborah Messing, and I was not expecting her either, and I was just like, my mind is completely blown right now.
If Chris Hansen came on, then everything would have just ended there.
Well, apparently I have the perfect face to be molested and impregnated, especially by family members.
Good compliment.
But no, I was cracking up. It's because I used to watch To Catch a Predator all the time as well.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's incredible. I mean, incredibly horrible and disgusting. And incredible.
My friends and I love to reenact the Chris Hansen voice. We do it on our show. It's the best.
Okay, I want to see that. That sounds amazing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was a great shoot because it literally filmed around my block, and my call was at 6 a.m. and so I rolled out of bed at 5:50 into the trailer. And Deborah Messing was there. She and Mariska Hargitay are really good friends. She was talking about their family trips together.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Any moment with Elliot or
Oh
Olivia?
no! that was the worst, actually, because I was a hardcore fan of SVU. I have a couple of the seasons on DVD, and I even rented this Lifetime movie with Mariska where she plays a detective going into like Amish country, and the girl was impregnated by her father or something.
I knew it. I was about to say, if it's on Lifetime, someone got raped.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just, love to see kindred spirits like that.
Yeah.
So no, I wanted to meet them so badly, but I was done at about 2 p.m. and then lunch was at 3, and they were coming in sometime after lunch. So anyway, but I wrote a little memo, and I asked if they could sign a photograph to my sister because she's such a huge fan. And I put my address down, and sure enough, about 2 months later, I ended up getting a photograph, and they wrote her a little message. So that was really sweet of them.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I think she ended up just sticking it in a drawer, my sister, but.
No, that is such a sin. That is a sin.
What a jerk.
That should be on the fridge frame.
On the fridge, over your kid's drawing.
Yes.
I don't
Over
care
your
about
kids.
little baby Carter, but you're putting that picture up there.
Oh,
But no, they were, but the crew was awesome, and Deborah Messing she was kind of funny, but we had this is so ridiculous. All right, so we were, we were in an apartment in New York, and so when you're shooting in an apartment, you have to keep everyone very separate, all the crew members and everything, because you have no space and you have all these crew. So we were constantly being moved from room to room. And so we go up in this room and they're setting up the monitors for the director. And Deborah Messing goes, "Ooh, what are those?" and I'm sitting there and I can't believe it. Like my mouth won't even open. And I'm watching because I'm thinking she's not talking about the monitors. She's talking about something else, like some weird thing that I can't see because she has to know what these are. And she looks around, she goes, does anybody know what these are?
Oh my
and I'm
God.
just like,
Oh.
monitors? and she goes, huh? And this girl goes, they're the monitors so that the director can watch playback. And she was like, oh my gosh. She goes, do they always have them? Am I this old? I'm like, you were on a TV show forever.
Exactly.
How do you not know?
How long was Will and Grace? That show was on forever.
I was floored. And then we were talking about restaurants and great places to eat. And she was talking about, on the Lower East Side. And I was talking about all these places, and she's like, oh, I don't know where that is. I'm like, oh, it was on the Upper East Side. She's like, oh, I don't know. And then I would tell her, something else. Oh, what about this place? She goes, oh, I don't know where that is. I said, that's in Midtown. How do you not? And I said, you really don't know where any of these places are? She goes, oh, well, I was only downtown when I was here filming. It's like, you were here forever! Who are you?
Wow. That makes me kind of sad about Deborah Messing. Not that I never really, yeah, I never had anything special for her to begin with, but now it's completely gone.
Yeah, it's kind of, I don't even know what to say. I don't want to insult her, but I mean.
No, I'll insult her. I don't care.
And that's why you're on the show.
If I ever see Deborah Messing, I'm just gonna ask, like, how the fuck do you not know what a monitor is? That's all I'm gonna say to her.
You just go, no.
Yeah, be like, I'm not gonna tell you who told me this, but come on.
And then she'll say, what's a monitor?
Yeah. And then I will smack her in the face.
With your VHS copy of Will and Grace.
Exactly. I will buy a copy of that just for that moment in my life.
So let's jump back to the woman. I know we have so many questions about it, but I know we got to tone it down. I have two questions that kind of coincide with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Would you reprise the role as Peg, and what would you believe happened at the end when you and Socket and Shyla and the woman walk off?
Well, I kind of know what happens after
Oh,
that.
okay.
But yes, I mean, there was, Polly and I definitely talked and everybody had talked about it, but I would absolutely reprise the role of Peg. I think she is now just beginning or having the opportunity to live her life. Unfortunately, she's going to be doing it in the woods. And Lord knows the things that the woman is going to teach her.
You wanted to get bloody. That's the way to do it.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I think it's just such an exciting time for her. She's finally free from her father and from her mother in this. And I think that any life that she will have with the woman and Socket is exponentially better than what would have happened to her had she stayed there. I mean, obviously, had she stayed, he would eventually have killed the whole family.
Oh, yeah.
Is how I mean, that's never been established, but that's, I think, where that was going. Was that everyone was going to die, maybe except for his son. But yeah,
Well, he definitely met his end with the lawnmower blade.
Oh yeah, I know. I was so impressed with that movie. That's what, when you're shooting it, there were things, and our DP was amazing, and the gaffer and all the crew. But when you're shooting it and you just think, how is this gonna work? How the hell are you kidding me? But when I saw it, I just thought, well, this is absolutely incredible. I was very impressed by everyone.
It's definitely Stacy and I. It's our top 5, if not higher, movie. I mean,
Number 2.
Yeah,
Number 2.
we were so obsessed with. I mean, that's how she and I actually met. Was
Really?
I got a tattoo of Pollyanna of the woman, and then I just put it on. I think I linked it to her saying, "Hey, I got a tattoo of your face. I'm creepy," and Andrew saw it and added me, and then I think Stacy commented on it and said that she's gonna get one too. So he added both of us, and then we added each other, and so
oh my gosh!
Yeah, it's kind of cool how we met. We met through Andrew, so that's why we had him as our first guest, and
yeah.
So we actually hopefully get to meet you soon. He wants us to come out to the premiere of Jugface.
Oh, kick ass! That's awesome.
So we'll do PSYCOW on the road.
Yeah, perfect. That'd be.
I'm gonna need you to bring Deborah Messing. I'm not over that. Just so everybody knows.
2 words: the monitors.
Exactly.
Monitor.
What are these ancient beasts?
Exactly. Oh my god. I can't get over that. I'm gonna see her every time. I'm gonna watch like the Mothman prophecies or something. Be like, just fucking turn it off. I don't even want to watch this.
The TV.
Yeah. And I couldn't, and I expected for someone to say that, and for her to be like, "Oh, duh." I guess I just thought because I smoked a lot of peyote this morning that it was my grandmother.
We're on the Starship Enterprise, and on the Enterprise we have a lot of screens, so we can see all around the galaxy.
So yeah, that's perfect. She would have believed it too.
She would have been right there with you, going, "Oh, cool."
Oh, absolutely.
Can I be Skywalker? And then you just punch her right in the face.
Honestly, now that I think about it, I'm going to tell my boyfriend this story, and he's going to be so happy because he fucking hates Deborah Messing for some reason. I don't know why, but he hates her so much.
Yeah, I really don't know that many people that are like, huge Deborah Messing. There's not really a Deborah Messing fan page, anywhere.
Well, when he told me he hated her so much, I thought about writing her and saying, "Hey, my name's Andrew," which is my boyfriend's name. Like, I'm a really big fan of you. Is there any way I could get an autograph? And have him get an autograph from Deborah Messing and just lose his shit. I was hoping she'd write back. I don't know if she ever would, but now
she's our next guest.
It's not worth it now. But and you know what though I love is that her ex-husband Daniel Zellman, who made such, he made like They Nest and Anacondas.
Yes.
And I mean, so I think that's amazing. Like, you were married to a director who
had monitors.
They could probably have those at your house, like they're sitting there. God.
Oh, Lord. Wow.
All right.
So, are you dry with the questions on the woman, Stacy? You got more?
I think I'm out. Deborah Messing is beating my head out.
Deborah Messing has ruined this show.
She has messed me up.
No! God, I'm never gonna work with her again. Oh, all right. Here's she actually, just a fun trivia fact for that TV show. She did tase someone for real.
What?
In that scene, yeah, she actually got to tase somebody.
I've always wanted to be tased, so I don't think I'd mind.
I thought you were gonna say she did it on accident, not knowing what she was holding, and just
Yeah.
went,
What is this thing? We really are on Enterprise.
Yeah.
Oh no.
So, are there any roles in the future that you have your eye on that are horror related, or even just outside of the horror realm?
I'm open to a lot. I'm waiting for Tim Burton to get a hold of me here, because I just think that it's about time, quite honestly.
Hold that thought. I guess I just heard this. I don't know how 100% true this is, but I guess Johnny Depp is coming to Ohio, and it's close to where I am. So when I go down there and I see Johnny Depp, I'll say something to him about it.
Perfect.
Okay?
Perfect. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Hey, call her. I will hurt you.
No, but I'm open to a lot of things, but I guess, I love horror, and I've told people this before. I've told my friends this, and my dad's all about it. But if I would, make a career out of only doing horror movies, I would be more than happy. And anybody that ever talks to me, they go, "Oh no, I can't believe you would say that." But it's true. It is. And I have such a fond place for it, and it was just the happiest days of my life were, watching them with my father, and every weekend. And most of my movie collection is comprised of horror movies, and I would be more than happy to do that, and or other, psychological thrillers. Are definitely a favorite of mine. Cronenberg was another huge love of my life.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God, when I saw Videodrome.
Videodrome, I know.
Yes.
I felt like I had a mouth in my stomach for a week.
Yeah.
When I couldn't find the remote, I was like, wait, I know where it is.
Videodrome, like Scanners was the first thing. I don't think my father let me watch Videodrome. It was like my dad wouldn't let me watch two things: the rape scene from Pulp Fiction and Videodrome.
Did you get to watch the aftermath where he says, "I'm gonna get a blowtorch and some pliers and go"?
Yeah, and get medieval.
Yeah, that line alone made me go, "This movie's amazing."
Yeah.
I don't know how medieval that is really though. Blowtorch and pliers doesn't seem very medieval to me.
Right. I guess it was just for the pain anyway.
Turkey leg and battle axe. That's what I would have said.
Can you imagine Marcellus Wallace?
I'm gonna get a turkey leg.
This bitch.
I think you need to dub that scene.
I'm going to. I'm gonna re-release it. So on our show, when we close out our show, we like to do something called the PSYCOW 8, where we ask 8 questions that kind of pertain to horror movies and just as more personal experiences and personal tastes in horror movies.
Oh, okay.
So we're gonna alternate them. My first one is: what is the scariest movie you've ever seen of all time?
Don't Look Now.
Really?
Yes, I think that was one of, Black Christmas also.
Oh.
Black Christmas had my girlfriends and I like hugging each other and screaming at the top of our lungs. But I remember I watched Don't Look Now by myself, and in the dark house, and nobody was home, and I remember it was raining, and I was absolutely just horrified with everything that was going on.
I've always thought Donald Sutherland was creepy even when he's not trying to be.
True.
And you know what? And I think it was probably also because I had never gotten that image out of my mind of him at the end of Invasion of the Body Snatchers with the
I'm so happy you picked a movie that was different, because a lot of times I ask people that it's either one of two movies, The Exorcist or The Shining, and there are so many other creepy movies out there.
Yeah, The Shining is probably one of my favorite movies just of any time ever, because Jack Nicholson and Randy Marsh both have my heart. And so after that South Park that just aired, I was screaming at the top of my lungs, like just screaming, running back and forth in circles. It was
the scariest scene in The Shining, like everyone says the old woman or the twins, but I always thought it was him on the stairs saying, "I'm going to bash your brains in." I'm like, no, thank you. I'll pass.
Oh, yeah.
It had the best twist, though, with, you think the guy's coming to save him, he gets an axe to the chest, right when he walks in the door. I was like, this movie's amazing.
I was always most freaked out by him and Lloyd when they were in that bathroom.
Right, yeah.
Just the red of that, and that it was just, oh, man. Yeah.
It's a creepy movie, but I'm so happy you picked something different.
Yeah, absolutely.
Honestly, the scariest part of that movie is Wendy's face all the time.
Oh, God.
You
need to back up, Olive Oil.
Yeah, she's just always like, oh!
Who the hell said, let's get Shelley Duvall?
Yeah.
My friend and I, we wanted to develop at Kmart Shelley Duvall Couture from that movie. All of her outfits were like Shelley Couture.
Definitely the only at Kmart. It's a Kmart exclusive.
Yes. And you can get like the PC greasy like bangs that just to Velcro to the top of your head.
Oh, that is
Come on the show more often. You're so much fun.
I know. Please make me some of these bangs.
I will. I have an Edward Scissorhand wig that looks like it looks like someone got shoved into a garbage disposal with the skunk. It just can't be used. So I can probably make about 20 from that.
Oh, that would be beautiful.
There you go. They're exclusives. They're limited editions.
Oh my God.
Shelley Duvall bangs while they last.
Oh. I want to run around my house with them on and like taunt my boyfriend with a knife, just going, ah!
Save me!
Oh God.
That was her only line.
Yeah.
We should take him to a doctor. To a doctor.
So Stacey, why don't you get the next one? Let's alternate.
All right. What's the best movie you've seen in the last 5 years?
I've never seen that one.
Yeah, that's a perfect answer, right?
Oh God, that's so hard. All right, I'm such a weirdo, and it's so hard for me to tell, like, because I'm so bad about going out to see movies when they come out. But I was really impressed with Looper. More than I thought I would, and but this is so hard. I loved the movie Rango.
I did. I think everybody did.
Yeah, that's a great movie.
I saw that in the theater at least 4 times.
Anything that's animated has got my name on it. So.
Oh yeah.
I think that it might have to be Rango. Because I also, I love Westerns. That was another thing with me and my father, and I've probably seen Josie Wales more times than I care to admit. I just loved that it really felt to me like a genuine Western movie, but with these animated characters, and also just the theme of water, that I thought was so important. I'm not the biggest hippie, but water is really seriously important, and I think that
right.
At the end of the day, everything's going to come down to that. And I thought that it was a great, it wasn't as in your face as Fern Gully and the Last Rainforest.
Oh, I love Fern Gully.
Help it grow, Krista.
I talk about Fern Gully all the time, and only my friend and I are the only ones that know what it is, and we get made fun of if we try to explain it, but you can't without looking like an idiot. You're like, okay, there's these fairies in the rainforest, and this ooze monster played by Tim Curry tries to come and take, and they're like right there, like, okay, stop talking.
and Robin Williams as Batty.
Oh God, it was so good.
Yeah, so I'm a big slave to animated films. Miyazaki is, one of my absolute favorites. But and I kind of love also that Christian Slater was in it.
Right. Yeah, his voice back then was exactly now, but he still didn't have a career. Krista, come on.
Yeah.
Back in that time, Christian Slater was a hunk and a half.
Yeah.
Around Heathers and Heathers
yeah.
up to like 1994. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And True Romance.
I'd hit it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I'm gonna go ahead and say that I think that Rango was my favorite movie from the last 5 years.
What's your favorite movie that you've worked on so far?
Ooh, oh God, that's so hard. I would say Jugface, only probably because I was in it so much. But the woman was incredible for so many reasons. But I think that because I learned so much from shooting the woman, I was able to start applying some of those things with this last project, and so it was very challenging, but I think that I loved it because of the fact that my character goes through so much hell, and those are really the best things to do, I had a lot of fun with all the horrible predicaments that Chad put me in. So I just, I love being tortured. What can I say?
What's the worst horror movie monster of all time?
The worst horror movie monster.
Please say Chucky. He's so overrated.
God, yeah, he is horrible, isn't he?
He is.
Yeah, and I've got to say that because as a child I was tormented by trolls. I hated them. And just recently, for the first time, it was what did it for me was that I love Ernest.
Ernest Scared Stupid.
Yes.
And Ernest Scared Stupid ruined me when Hellraiser was nothing. Jason was nothing. I watched Sleepaway Camp, over and over again. Puppet Master was one of my favorite things in the world. The Phantasm 1, 2, and 3. Like this, nothing scared me more than Ernest Scared Stupid. These trolls just haunted me. And for years I couldn't look at it. And then just the other day I was trying to explain how scary they were to somebody. And I was like, no, I have to show you. I said, I haven't looked at these things since I was a kid. And I went online and looked at these pictures and I said, Jesus Christ, what was I scared?
I think Eartha Kitt was scarier in that movie than anything else.
Oh, how about Zelda Rubinstein? That's a scary one. That's it.
I can't believe you said Ernest Scared Stupid. That's awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome. It's always the weirdest thing that makes you like the most scared, though.
Yeah, and it, never did anything to me. I just thought, really, these people are gonna. I love the scene at the end when the guy's in the hospital. And he starts pulling at his hair, to show the grayness from what it did to him.
Apparently, if you look at a really bright light, your hair turns white.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like watching the Ring video. Their face is all distorted and their mouth is open wide.
Oh yeah. Well, and honestly, probably any giant spider is just a terrible monster.
Right. I don't like spiders or clowns, but I don't mind them, but I gotta know where they are at all times. They can be in the room. I just gotta know where they are.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
What's your cheesy guilty pleasure movie outside of the horror genre? Or even if you have a cheesy horror movie, but I think everyone has that cheesy guilty pleasure. What's yours?
Ooh, off the top of my head right now, I'm saying Pretty in Pink.
Such a good movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It's not the most cheesy thing that I own, but I also, what's a really bad one that I tend to start drinking games with, and then you'll understand why they really don't go anywhere, is What About Bob? I always say, all right, guys, we're drinking on Bob. And then after about 15 minutes, you run out of beer. So
That's why you get Old Milwaukee. It's cheap and you can buy a
you just have to watch Richard Dreyfuss just lose his mind. I think that movie actually caused him to lose his mind. I think that's what it was. So yeah, I would say Pretty in Pink and What About Bob are always the cheesy pleasures.
Those are pretty good. I just had somebody call me and they're like, you know those movies that you watch that like every time you watch it you just cry, and I'm like, yeah, and he's like, which one's yours? And I was like, Beaches with Bette Midler. Every time.
I saw
every time I watch that movie.
Someone was playing a drinking game. You talked about it. I don't know why I thought about it, but apparently if you put a mustache on your TV screen, and every time someone falls into the mustache exactly right, you drink.
Oh, that's fabulous.
Oh, it's like the perfect game. It's so much fun.
Oh, that's incredible. Oh, I definitely have to do that. You know what, Stacey, I just cried at, yeah, what was it? It was Wednesday, yeah.
What is it?
Was, the Muppet Christmas Carol. When he comes back and Tim's not there and they show his little hat and cane on the rocking chair, I wept.
Okay.
I wept.
That makes, I mean, honestly, it's better than crying at Beaches, but, I mean, I feel terrible for even admitting that right now. But
No, I weep a lot too. I weep more than any male should during a movie. I get too involved with the characters.
Absolutely. I mean, Babs Hershey in Black Swan, I cried just looking at her there. So
I started tearing up really bad at the end of Dark Knight Rises. That's how big of a Batman fan I am. And my fiance looks at me and she goes, "Really?"
Oh, that's pretty bad.
yeah.
Batman's dying and Alfred's there crying and I don't know what to do.
Thank you.
Oh, woof.
That is perfect. Oh, I should probably move on. What do you think about the rebooted movies? The remakes? Do you feel good about those, or do you think it's kind of not so great?
I mean, you can show. God, I really don't get it. I really don't. I don't understand it. I don't like them. For instance, Death Race 2000 with Stallone and Carradine. That's another movie I was raised on. And when they did like the half-assed version of Death Race,
Yeah.
that made me. I'm not very vocal about these things because it's just this inner fire that burns deeply that will be unleashed someday upon the industry, but it really hurt. And then the Evil Dead one, which I know that Raimi and Bruce Campbell are involved with, and I don't understand it. I really don't. As far as like the Freddys and the Jasons, those are different to me because they've always been remaking themselves and they've always been changing. And I think that in that case, sometimes it's like an homage. But some of them, oh God, yeah, it really burns me up. And in general, when dramas like the Sabrina with Harrison Ford, I mean, can someone just take that off the shelves and never allow it to be seen again?
Well, Stacey, go ahead.
Why?
Stacey and I were talking about the Evil Dead and how the trailer made it look incredibly gory and amazing, and they still had like the tree rape and all the elements. But if you're gonna have every single thing that you did in the previous one, just keep it the way it is.
Yeah.
Right.
I felt that way about Evil Dead, and I felt that way about Suspiria. Like they were talking about doing Suspiria, and if you remake that movie, I will shoot whoever does.
Yeah.
That is single-handedly my favorite horror movie, and if you try to remake that, I will find you and I will kill you.
I know.
Absolutely.
I know it's cliche, but The Exorcist is my all-time favorite, and if they remake that, I'll never leave my house. I'll just sit on the floor and cry all day.
Prequel.
Yeah, like that terrible thing.
Oh, just awful. No, I'm absolutely with you on it. It definitely it burns me up. I mean, I feel like maybe I've seen something that was a remake that wasn't bad, but in general, I think that they're just unnecessary.
What's your decade of horror movies?
What's that?
What's your favorite decade of horror movies?
I probably watched the 80s the most. between like 75 and 85, something like that.
Yes, the 70s were the best.
Yeah.
But then you get the 80s, the slasher started, and
Right.
you're definitely right.
Yeah, because that was the thing is, I mean, but, I also, I was very into Hitchcock as well, for a while. And speaking of original things, the original Haunting, I remember,
So good.
was so good. And, I had seen that after I'd seen the remake. I didn't even really know that there was, I was pretty young when that came out. And after I saw that, I thought, why would they ever redo this? This is terrifying. Yeah, the black and white, just the shadows.
Well, you never really see a ghost at all. It's just bending walls and doors, and it's like the House on Haunted Hill. You see a skeleton, but and then they remade it, and apparently you're being chased by mold.
Right. Yeah, and then but yeah, as far as but there were some really great things in the 80s, and also, like when they start really getting creative with blood and everything. That was my favorite thing. I love the part in Serial Mom when they see the blood after she gets beaten with I think it's a leg of lamb.
Right.
And she's watching Annie, and the girl goes, "It's brown. It's not like it's brown." So that's such a hard one for me, but yeah, I guess if he took everything away in my collection, I'd kill you, but.
This is the big one that we like to put out at the end. But
boy.
what is something you've learned from horror movies? What is the one thing you've learned
that you'll never do in real life? You'll never ever do it because you saw it in a movie.
Let's see. Oh, I will never look back while I'm running.
That is awesome.
Yeah, that's perfect.
I've never thought about that.
Well, because in general, I run into things anyway, and it's like, if they're gonna get you, I'd rather not see it coming anyway. So
that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on our show and taking the time to sit down and talk with us tonight.
Yeah, it was so much fun. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Well, on behalf of PSYCOW and Stacy, I'm Kyle. Have a great night.
Thanks. You too. Bye, guys.
Bye.
And we kept there was supposed to basically be a couple tears, falling, which you see in the beginning of that shot when I do go down. And then all of a sudden Lucky says, "All right, I just want you to lose it now." While we were filming, and I just thought, oh, I was not ready for this. That's and to set up that shot took, the crew is amazing. Andrew always gets the best crews ever. I love these guys and girls. They're amazing. And I just thought to reset for this shot is just gonna, and we're outside, the light there was insane how it would go, in and out. There were clouds. It was beautiful, but very tricky. And so finally, I just started thinking about all this, and my anxiety was just swarming, and I just started melting down and crying. So it really worked for nothing else.
It worked for all of us. We were crying with you.
I'm so glad. I love making people sad.
Why?
Oh, well, if you can't make them happy, I don't
That's
know.
true.
Make them
that
stressed.
Is true.
I just want to affect you.
So, going back to Rising Stars, I had a question about that movie.
Yes.
In that movie, you were from Zanesville, Ohio.
Right.
And I had to bring that up because I had the question, is if you've ever been to Zanesville.
I've driven past it, but I've never been to Zanesville. I think probably some football game has had to do with people from there, but I'm not sure. It seems like one of those places where it's like bring your tractor to school day.
It's very bad.
I'm in that town right now.
Wait, are you serious?
No, I don't live in Zanesville, but I live in a town just like that.
Oh yeah, bring your tractor to school.
It's awful.
Oh, no.
Horror fans don't fit in here.
Welcome to PSYCOW. I'm Stacy.
And I'm Kyle, and this week we have a very talented actress with us, the very, very beautiful Lauren Ashley Carter.
Hi, everybody.
She has been in The Woman, and I don't know if she knows this, but Stacy and I are completely obsessed with The Woman.
Yes, I know. I'm also obsessed. So
it's such a good movie, and everyone in that movie did such an amazing job. And we talked to Andrew for our last episode, and he's the nicest guy. He's really nice, and so we figured we're going to get the whole cast of The Woman on here eventually.
Oh, that's cool. That's awesome. Yeah, I heard the little snippet that you put online or on the Facebook page.
My mom likes his voice.
Was that your mom?
Yeah, that's the first thing she said. I love his voice. I'm like, okay, that's kind of creepy.
I didn't know that was your mom. That's awesome.
Yeah, so she supports what I do. So how did you get into the movie business?
Well, I guess I moved from
and I brought that up with the show. I couldn't help it. I was like, "Who did your hair, man?"
He wanted his mohawk or faux hawk or I think it was what happened was he got in the chair and Liz, who was our awesome, amazing makeup artist and hairstylist, she just said, you have great hair and we're just going to let it go. And he kept putting it up, And so finally that became his signature look.
I like it.
Yeah. So that's how, before that I did a film that I was overseas for a while called The Prodigies. It was this motion capture animated movie.
Yep.
That we worked on for a while. But that was the only experience I had had other than student films before Rising Stars. And then, and so basically Andrew, one day he just overheard me. I was talking about horror movies, and I love them. I grew up watching them among many others, but that was, my father. I would see my father on the weekends, and since I was 5 years old, he let me rent horror movies from the video store along with my Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Yes.
And like every normal 5-year-old girl. And so anyway, I was talking about this, and Andrew sits, overhears me, and he goes, "Oh my gosh," he goes, "this is perfect. When I saw you, all I could think about was how I wanted to introduce you to my friend Lucky." And we just start talking about horror movies, and then all of a sudden I realize he's talking about Lucky McKee.
Yeah.
Oh, that is your friend. And and then anyway, so we started talking about May, because May is just one of my absolute favorite movies. So I was just floored by that. And, and he talked about, next year we want to make this movie. But, me, I'm thinking, oh, yeah, sure, that's awesome. You hear this stuff all the time. Someone will talk to you about a project and then you never hear about it again. So, but yeah, sure enough, I ended up getting a phone call from Andrew, and Lucky was in town, and Lucky and I had a million conversations over the phone and email. And so we finally met up, and we were talking for hours and hours and hours. And throughout this weekend, he decided that he was going to definitely put me in the film as Peggy. And everything went pretty fast after that.
The character Peg was like, I don't know, the focal point of the movie for me. It was like so much emotion in that character. You did an amazing job, and I don't know. I told Andrew, it's your eyes. You really bring out like that emotion, like in the one scene with the song "Distracted" was playing. and you were on the football field, and it was like the camera kind of followed you as you kind of fell to the grass. I was like, oh my God, I feel like I'm gonna cry too.
That was the hope. That was the wish. We wanted everyone weeping and have soggy britches and all that.
If you can get soggy britches in a horror movie, then you have succeeded.
Exactly.
That was we talked about that shot for a long time, and he had me. He sent me the song. That was the one song that he knew that was going to be, at that certain point. Before that, Sean Spillane was writing all of these songs as we were making the film for the parts. But that was one that had already been written for the film. So I listened to it a lot. But, and you can read and you can talk about how the shot's going to be, but it was really intense when we did it, because the camera, he had the camera and was falling with me. And there were just all these people in my face, during that shot, which is this very, very emotional, very personal thing. And and when we were doing it, I just thought, oh my, this is so intrusive right now. Cincinnati, Ohio to New York. That's where I went to college. But I'm from a small town in Ohio called Massillon. Go Tigers. I came here. Our conservatory had a showcase like many conservatories do. And from that, I found my agency, and I moved here right away and started auditioning for things. And the first thing I met Andrew was through auditioning for a film called Rising Stars, which we filmed in Texas, which is like a family film.
Oh, we've seen it.
Oh.
We watched everything.
I had it was so funny because I worked at a family video store when I was in college. And I worked there so much. And I was also going to a conservatory where, you're constantly either in school or performing or doing something. So I eventually lost my mind and just never went back. I just didn't show up and just didn't go. And and then instead of just quitting and just letting that be that, I called and made up this insane story about like having a nervous breakdown and going to a hospital, which never happened. I just lied about this ridiculous thing, and when it was really, I just didn't want to work anymore. So anyway, long story longer, I leave and I did the movie Rising Stars, and I came back to New York. And I get this Facebook message from this girl that worked at Family Video, who was still working at Family Video. And she says, so I'm processing movies the other day, and we see your face on the cover of the title, Rising Stars, and we were all talking about you. And I said, oh, I don't know how to take that, but yeah, so that's a good Rising Stars story.
So that was kind of your big break then. That was when you met Andrew and his awesome haircut in the movie.